process. Here's what I can share with you at the early stage of this investigation. Around 2 a.m. this morning, officers heard gunshots near 10th Street and K Street and saw people running. They were on scene almost immediately, and there they encountered a large crowd and multiple gunshot victims. Officers began to give medical aid, including CPR, to the victims that they found, and at the same time worked to stabilize the scene and learn what they could about the crime. Our officers were assisted by members of the California Highway Patrol and the Sacramento Fire Department, and all of our agencies tried to save lives. What we now know is that 18 people were hit by gunfire. 6 have died. They were all adults. There were 3 men and 3 women. While the official notification to the victims' families will be handled by the coroner's office, our detectives are working with the coroner to make this happen as quickly as possible. 12 others were also shot and wounded, and they are being treated at area hospitals. This investigation is only hours old, and we are at the beginning of this process. I know you have questions today, and I won't be able to answer all of those because I won't do anything that would jeopardize this investigation. What I can tell you is this: investigators are working to identify those responsible for this horrific act. We know that a large fight took place just prior to the shootings, and we have confirmed that there are multiple shooters. Investigators are currently interviewing numerous witnesses. We have located hundreds of pieces of evidence at the scene. Every one of those we processed to help us learn more about this crime. And one of the items that we found was a stolen handgun. We also found that buildings were struck by gunfire during this incident. We have video from our police camera at 10th and K Street that captured portions of this shooting. And we have received multiple videos and tips from members of the public. We are deeply grateful for that. And I want to thank the public for their assistance. I would also ask that this continue, and anyone with information about this incident, contact us immediately. We have opened up City Hall as a meeting point and an information point. We also have a dedicated an investigator to be a liaison to ensure that they get as much information as we can share. What happened last night is the biggest and most recent example of what we all know. Gun violence is truly a crisis in our community and has increased not only here in Sacramento, but across the nation. This tragedy only strengthens our commitment to reducing violence in our community and finding meaningful and lasting solutions to the problem. We are working hand in hand with our community partners to focus our resources and efforts where they will have the greatest impact. I'd like to recognize some of our partners who have joined us here today and stand with us. We all understand that solving the problem of gun violence will require a community-wide effort because public safety is a shared responsibility. And with that, I would like to introduce our mayor, Mr. Mayor Darrell Steinberger.
Thank you very much, Chief Lester. In addition to all you said and what will be said in the next few moments, I hope the community at large sees the power of community behind me, which are my colleagues, my fellow elected officials, Vice Mayor Ashby, Councilmember Jennings, Councilmember Chenier, and of course Councilmember Valenzuela. But beyond that, the business leadership of our community representing the downtown area, but also the community leaders, the community-based organizations that stand with us in saying enough is enough. I want to thank the governor as well, who reached out to me directly, as well as his chief of staff. I want to thank our first responders, the police and fire personnel that were on the scene in the middle of the night, as always walking into uncertain situations, risking their own lives. I have every confidence that Chief Lester and the hardworking men and women of the police department are going to find who was responsible for this horrific and unacceptable murder, and they are going to arrest them, and that we will bring them to justice. For that must be part, and a big part, of our community's response.
And as well as Mayor Steinberg and Councilmember Valenzuela are going to take a few questions. Please answer or ask your questions in an orderly fashion, please, one at a time. I know everybody has a lot of questions. So with that, I'll take your question first.
This is for Chief Lester. You mentioned that a police camera downtown caught moments of the gunfire. Can you elaborate on any potential suspects or suspect?
We don't have that information to share right now, but like I said, we are in the preliminary stages of this investigation, and our PIOs will certainly be available as that information becomes available, and we will share it.
And then just a quick follow-up question. Our reporter in the field says victims' bodies are still on the ground downtown. Is there a reason for that? It's almost 12 hours later.
This is a really complex and complicated scene, and there is a process, and what we want to do is make sure that this investigation is completed thoroughly and accurately, because we do want to see the perpetrators of this crime brought to justice.
Thank you.
Chief, you mentioned multiple shooters. Is it safe to say they were all a part of the same sort of party, or are we talking about different groups that all had handguns, had their own conflicts, or whatever it was that they were getting into? And also in the downtown area, does that mean that there's multiple scenes that are being processed where shootings occurred?
You can see that it's a very large scene downtown. We have multiple blocks that are actually blocked off right now while we do the investigation, but I don't have the information that you're asking as far as the suspects, but I do expect to have more information in the coming days, and we will share that.
Chief, can you say how many shooters?
Chief, there's been a lot of talks of, we're talking about the youth, and then we're also talking about ghost guns. Have we confirmed that the guns or guns that were used in this were ghost guns, assault rifles? Have we confirmed that these suspected shooters were used?
No, we haven't confirmed any of that information at this time.
Can you say how many shooters?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to be available to answer a lot of your guys' questions. With that, we're going to conclude the Chief Lester's part of the press conference. But from here on, I'll be able to take your questions, and I'm sure the nice people up here will also be willing to answer your questions.
For Mayor Steinberg or for Mr. Alt, you mentioned King's Games restaurants, downtown's going to continue. Is that a sign that gun violence like this is becoming more normal in Sacramento?
We can never accept it as normal, and we never will. But we also have to live our lives and do our very best to assure people that we're doing everything we can. Look, violence is random. Violence is prevalent throughout the entire country now, but it is in fact random. And so we want to urge people to be safe, of course, but we don't want to shut down either, because that would be the wrong response. Over $8.1 million from our federal rescue plan dollars for exactly the purpose that Michael just described, to maximize safety, to provide better lighting, to have more outreach workers, to invest more in the ambassadors and the community leaders that are back standing behind me so that we can intervene earlier when there is a fight, so that it doesn't spill out into the kind of thing that brings us here today. And so yes, $8.1 million. It's all in process. Some of it's already out, but it continues in process to elevate the security, and significant additional resources for gang intervention and for youth programs. We have these pop-ups, most Friday and Saturday nights throughout the community, and they're great, but they're not enough. They're not enough. We're going to need to go 2-3 levels deeper here. And yeah.
For years, and you've
Should I take
offered
the
that
last one?
funding. If I could ask the
Last
question,
one.
as the last one, can you offer a commitment today for this in an actionable item for the long term, not just year-over-year funding for you?
First of all, just several weeks ago, the City Council voted to invest an additional $5.1 million in youth. And so we are not just reacting to the tragedy of tragedies here. While we've got a long way to go, we are in real time trying to change the trajectory of this city to expand what we consider to be core city priorities. Public safety is always first. Has to be, as is evident here. But public safety, as my colleague Councilmember Chenier has said often and brought forward a resolution, is about more than just men and women in uniform. It's about investing in young people, $5.1 million. Are we going to continue to move that trajectory in that direction when it comes to investing in youth? You better believe it. We have to, and we will. Okay?
More information.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody for coming today. The PIOs will be around after this if you have any specific questions related to investigatory questions. So thank you very much for coming.
Then I do have a question for you.
And that-
Is there any?
And that wraps up the news conference. We want to get to what is new from what has been reported more than 13 hours after this crime, Adrian. Chief Lester, we know that the victims, the ones that are dead, 6 dead, 3 men and 3 women, all adults. We know there are multiple shooters. We know they haven't been found. We know that there was a stolen handgun found at the scene, and some buildings were hit by bullets. And, Adrian, very key point, they must have some video because there's police cameras throughout the area in downtown. There's 46 that were installed since 2016, and there's one at 10th and K. And the chief says they do have a police cam video that they're looking at 10th and K, right where this happened.